What is up, heroes? This is Midnight Zero, and welcome to the first battle of the NCPL for the Chicago Muse. We're going up against Manu, coach of the Fresno Flygons, one of the newcomers, easily one of the better battlers, in my opinion, of this league. I haven't played him yet. I'm really excited to do so. I watched a couple of his battles in other leagues to kind of get a feel for his playstyle. It's pretty balanced. He generally plays pretty safely, but is able to make plays and pull the trigger when he needs to on riskier plays. We're just waiting for a challenge from him now. I have made a team builder. The team is very different from the SFL. Like, very, very different. The whole concept, the play style, the mons themselves. So please do check that out if you want to understand what's going on, if you want to understand my mentality going into this, some of the threats that I anticipate. And I guess I can chat about that a little bit right now. As far as threats go, we haven't seen exactly what he's bringing just yet, but Shaman and Hydreigon are the biggest threats. Particularly Life Orb Hydreigon and Sub-Sea Leftovers Shaman. So, alright, Manu, where be this challenge? We can challenge him, I guess, if we want. But, yeah, I'm nervous. Yes. Yeah, I'm a little nervous. Obviously, this is the start of a new season. We just came off the SFL. Still a little shaken up by it, but overall, fine. Trying to learn from it, see what I can do. We've got our team here. Again, this lovely team. It should look really nice when we start it up or boot it up and everything. I arranged the Pokemon with Lizzie in the color order so that they look and appear nicely and the colors flow along with the team. But, alright, let's hop into it and see what he brings. Okay, honestly, that's totally what I expected. I just expected the top 6. One thing that's nice to note is there's no ground type, which means I can pretty freely switch around, or Volt switch around with Thundurus, which is pretty cool. Garchomp does really well. Yeah, as was expected. Oh man, there's the Hydreigon, and there's the Shaman. Now we just gotta figure out what kind of Hydreigon and what kind of Shaman there are. What's his lead? He brought a ton of offense. If I had to guess, he brought, Mega Metagross. I would anticipate either Zapdos and Toxapex are probably defensive. Hydreigon is probably mixed, and Darmanitan is probably Scarfed. Shaman, I don't know. Shaman might be the Sub-Seed set, actually. That would be scary, but what is our lead here? I think his lead pretty safely is Darmanitan. I think my lead either way is going to be Thundurus because I can Volt Switch into whatever necessary counter I need. So I'm going to lead off with Thundurus here. See what we can do. Thundurus can definitely put in some work. I definitely need to weaken some things, though. I do want to lead with... Oh, man. I kind of want to lead Bronzong. But I do think Darmanitan is his lead of choice. Yeah, because I think Darmanitan, or even Hydreigon. You can find out... he's probably going to lead off with whatever Scarfmon he brings, in my opinion. Oh man. Let's see what he goes for. Oh, I should hit him up with a nice good luck, have fun. Yeah, the game so far is going to be figure out what he's doing. He's probably defensive defog Zapdos, if I had to guess. Because that's his only form of hazard control. Yeah, like I'm really not too surprised with the team. Scizor could put in work potentially. We really just need to scout for Hydreigon set. To see what moves it's bringing. It's probably bringing Dark Pulse and Draco Meteor. If it's Scarf, it's probably bringing U-Turn as well. But it also has access to Earth Power, it has access to Fire Blast, it has access to Surf, it has access to Super Power, to Iron Tail, to Flash Cannon, all of which are helpful against different Mons on my team, so... Yeah, that's right, the return of Suicune, guys! Suicune is back. Get hyped for some Suicune action. And if he doesn't choose his lead soon, we're going to be here for a long time. So he leads with Zapdos. We can scout for what kind of Mon this is. What kind of Zapdos is this? I think he can just Volt Switch out here. We're not going to reveal too much. What does he go into? He's probably going to go into a Shaman here if I had to guess. Unless he's really specially defensive. Okay, so that did 38%. Let's see what that tells us about his Zapdos. Oh, that's right, I didn't name Thundurus. Oh, I totally forgot to give Thundurus a name. That's so disappointing. So, Volt Switch, that means he's probably physically defensive, Zapdos. It is not that surprising. Which means I'm going to go into Florges here. Because he might try and Toxic. Oh, he's just going to Roost to scout for what we do. Not a bad play, not a bad play. Ben, oh, that one has a weed name. Okay, from here, what does he go into? He probably goes into Metagross or Toxapex. I'm just going to Moonblast. He can try to, what's it called? He can try to, Toxic me if he wants to, but we have Aromatherapy. I don't know if it says pressure when we have it. I want to look real quick at Thundurus. How many Volt Switches does it have? It has 1. So he is static. So he is static Zapdos. And I don't think static Zapdos can get Defog. So I don't think he has Hazard Control. Which means we're going to want to try to get up our rocks ASAP. So he goes into Metagross, which is totally cool. We do 21% to that, which is actually really helpful because now he's really close to being in range. He'll be in range of an Earthquake from Garchomp after 1 rock switching. So we're going to go hard into Bronzong here. Because we take any hit this wants to go for. He's Stealth Rock Mega Metagross. Interesting. Interesting. I did not anticipate that. Well, we'll get up rocks of our own. Yeah, no, interesting. Interesting indeed. So, I'm thinking he might be Banded. Darmanitan. He might be Banded Darmanitan. And if that's the case, let's see here. I mean, Scarf Darmanitan still does quite a bit. Let's see if Wall Breaker. This is a Jolly Choice Banded set. I think we can switch into it. Not super safely, but I think we can roughly. Is he going to U-turn here? He U-turns. Okay, good play on his part. That did 21.6%, which lets me know that he is Banded. He's Banded. Is he Adamant? He could be Adamant or he could be Jolly. I don't know the speed tier yet. Yeah, I don't necessarily know the speed tier yet, though. But that does confirm that he's Banded, which is good to know. Because now Suicune can't switch into this. I probably should have gone straight into Garchomp, to be honest. In retrospect. And not let this thing get weakened. I would really appreciate it if you went to Toxapex here. What does he go into? Is he going to go into Shaman? He doesn't know what set we're running. Actually, from that U-turn damage, he probably knows that we're physically defensive. He doesn't know if we're running Ice Beam or not, which would be really helpful for Hydreigon and Zapdos and Shaman. So I'm really not sure just yet. But if he's Banded this, he's probably Scarf Hydreigon. And he's Leftovers Shaman. He's probably the bulky set, which is annoying. So we're gonna go hard into Florges here. as he goes back into Darmanitan. Okay. It's a good play on his part. We'll protect, see what you want to do. You gonna U-turn? No, he just straight up Flare Blitzes. Okay, and this is a banded Flare Blitz, so this would probably KO us. Can you say KO like 169% minimum roll? Now the question is, does he anticipate us to switch into something like Garchomp? Because that's what we're going to do. As he Flare Blitzes, that still does a ton of damage. Wow. But we do outspeed. We do outspeed. And I'm pretty sure, do we KO with Dragon Claw? Let's see it. Snacker. Yeah, we should be able to KO with Dragon Claw, which is pretty cool. We're not going to Z Sandstorm yet. Yeah, we're just going to safely Dragon Claw. Man, Banded Flare Blitz hurts. But again, unless he's running Bullet Punch on his Metagross, he doesn't really have priority, so that's not too big of a deal. At least our health. We still have at least 2 switch-ins. He's Stealth Rock Metagross. Oh, I should have calculated. I should have calculated based on the Moonblast damage what set he is. So if we've got like a regular Metagross, let's go for our Florges. I believe we did 20%. Okay, so he probably is an offensive Metagross with Stealth Rock, if I had to guess. So he just goes into this. Is this bulky? 36% on the Dragon Claw. Can we knock this out with a Poison Jab? Our Dragon Claw did how much? 35? Our Dragon Claw did 35, so he's got some HP, some defense investment. So our Poison Jab, it's a roll. So it's a roll. It's a roll. If our Dragon Claw did 35%, he's probably somewhere in this range. Which means it's probably not a roll in our favor. Is he going to Hidden Power Fire? Is he going to Hidden Power Ice? Is he just going to Seed Flare? He probably can Seed Flare. He can probably also just Synthesis, maybe? I could, does he pull a double into Darmanitan on the anticipated Florges? That's another good question, I guess. I'm gonna go Florges. Let's see if he pulls a double. If he does, great play on his part. He just synthesises. Okay, that's fair. We can Moonblast if we want. I think we can just fire off a Moonblast here. He's probably physically defensive. I mean, we still have a decent special attacking stat. So yeah, we can pretty safely Moonblast here. I think Toxapex is his better switch in at this point. We have a chance to lower his special attack. He can go for Seed Flares, but then he'll just waste them. Okay. Moonblast did 11%. We get a attack drop, which is really nice. Not like it was doing much to damage anyways. Toxapex, Moonblast. So he's got to be more especially defensive. For our Moonblast to do 11%, he's specially defensive Toxapex. Let's see here. Yeah, so he's max special defense, probably. Probably. Now, here's where we wonder what's going on. Do we go into Thundurus? Do we go into Suicune? Do we go into Bronzong? I think we go into Bronzong here. He sets up T-Spikes. That is annoying, but it's not the end of the world. We can Earthquake if we want. We can Earthquake or Psychic. Psychic is Stab at this point. Let's see here. Psychic will still do more. I could go into Scizor now. I could just go into Scizor. He might just switch hard into his Hydreigon here. I kind of want to go into Scizor. Yeah, I'm going to go hard into Scizor. As he does that. So we can get our Mega off, which is nice, and we can defog these away. We'll get rid of our own hazards, but at the same time, I don't want these Toxic Spikes up for sure. Yeah. As he stays in, he's probably just going to Scald here. Just fine. No burn. We went first, so we can just U-turn here if we want to. We can U-turn and then we can probably U-turn into our Garchomp if we want to. We can U-turn into Thundurus. I think that's the better play. If he goes Zapdos, he's probably going to try and get Static on us. Luckily, he doesn't. So how much did our Volt Switch do first? Like the very first turn? It did 38%, which means our Thunderbolt is probably going to 2-hit KO. His Shaman is pretty healthy. He's probably running Heat Wave. Which means our Florges probably takes it on pretty well. Man, I should have considered Continental Crush. Wouldn't that be nice? I can just go Thundurus here if I want to and Volt Switch. I think I'm just going to do that. Go Thundurus and then Volt Switch into Florges if he wants to stay in. If he wants to stay in and Roost again, that uses up another one of his Roosts. Yep. It is kind of sucky to say, but that is what it is. So, how much would Scald from Toxapex do to Garchomp? Because then I might try to Wish Pass into it. I think that's what I'm going to do here. I think I'm going to Wish here. So he goes hard into Toxapex, and now see, I wished here because I want to go into my Garchomp on the anticipated Scald, potentially, or a Toxic Spike. Oh, shoot! Oh, shoot! Wow! That sucks. That sucks so much, actually. So he ran Ice Beam. He ran Ice Beam for Garchomp. I did not see that coming. Well done. Well done. And there goes one of my main ways of winning this game in an offensive manner, at least. And really one of my only ways to beat most of his team. Well then. Well then, well then, well then. Alright, so this is going to be post-com from here on out. Obviously the battle's going to be sped up a lot, as you can see on screen now. It's really difficult to explain, but this battle went on for 268 turns. So it's a really long battle. It lasted 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was a long mental journey, but I want to talk about it a bit. I want to explain a bit of what's going on screen. And as you just saw, I lost my Garchomp. I lost my Garchomp relatively early, and look at the rest of my team. Look at the 5 members of my team I have left, and try to come up with some way that I can kill every member on this team. Maybe with Bronzong I can whittle away at Toxapex eventually, maybe with Metagross. Suicune Calm Mind setup as long as Toxapex is gone, but I don't really have a lot to hit Toxapex with. Even Thundurus. Even my Thundurus' Thunderbolt was doing 60% or so to Toxapex. So I really didn't have a lot of ways to break through his team, so it gets really stally really fast. I really relied on Garchomp a lot more than I give myself credit for, or a lot more than I should have played, or a lot more than I played like, because I really needed it to break through his team, to get rid of some of his mons. Now, I do want to say that overall, I think I played pretty well. There were a few turns that had huge consequences. In particular, losing my Garchomp. Not anticipating the Ice Beam. I have so many potential switch-ins to Toxapex, and I should have at the very least scouted first, or waited for a safer switch-in, or a slow U-turn with Scizor or something like that to get my Garchomp in. Not just a hard switch-in on a Toxapex that I didn't know the full moveset on, especially when I was putting so much offensive pressure on that Garchomp. So that's my bad. That's one of the biggest misplays I made, and it turned this game of my bulky offensive team that could potentially break through his team if I made some good plays and such, could get some good damage, into a stall war. My team has close to no offensive output, and this match in a nutshell was me kind of rubber banding back. In the SFL, I played hardcore hyper offense. Lots of having to make predictions, take risks, go on the aggressive all the time, and this is kind of me rubber banding in the back. I tried to play super safely. I thought I could play safer than I actually did while he was playing much more aggressively, and it didn't work out. I needed to play a lot more aggressively. I will let you know that I end up losing this match. It's not too big of a spoiler alert, given that even when sped up as much as Vegas will allow me, there's still 20 minutes or so left of this battle. And yeah, I didn't pull the trigger enough. You'll find there are tons of times where my Mega Scizor is in against his Metagross, and I just don't have the guts to pull Pursuit. I just don't get that damage off, which is really essential, because that's one of the Pokemon he can't heal, unlike Zapdos, or Shaman as we find out, or Hydreigon as we find out. And yeah, there are a few plays, like the Garchomp play, that come down to, that pretty much just take away any really chance I have at winning in an offensive manner. And so it does kind of come down to some PP stalling and such, which is never fun, but it is what it is. This Hydreigon in particular, Life Orb Hydreigon, is an absolute monster. I was so scared to see it. I didn't know what kind of Hydreigon it was, and Life Orb Hydreigon was really difficult for me to handle. I find out it's Life Orb Roost Hydreigon, which is the absolute worst Hydreigon I could have gone up against. Bulky Shaman, basically Recovery Shaman, was the only type of Shaman I really didn't want to go up against. So his team was really well prepped for me. You'll notice, if you do watch, and you do watch carefully, that there are a lot of good defensive plays I make. I make a lot of good calls, anticipating Flash Cannons, anticipating Fire Blast, anticipating Dracos, recovering when necessary, making the right switches to recover my Mons as I need to keep them healthy to take on his ridiculous offensive powerhouses. So I am pretty happy with how I played overall. There were a couple mistakes I made though. Obviously the Garchomp that I keep mentioning, and also I didn't accurately identify my win condition at this point. I thought I could try to set up a Suicune and maybe eventually pressure things, try and get damage and build it up over time. Then I realized, I didn't know at this point his Shaman had recovery. I didn't know at this point, I just realized that his Hydreigon has recovery, and that makes things a lot more difficult. So my number one priority had to be get rid of Toxapex. That was my only way of really letting Suicune be the only manner in which I can build up some damage output with a Calm Mind sweep, especially given I was trying to get rid of all of Shaman's Seed Flares. I got him down to 2 Seed Flares left, and it was really difficult for him to pull the trigger on the last one. He never ended up doing so, but as long as he only had that one Seed Flare left, that means Suicune could win as long as Toxapex was gone. And I actually let my Bronzong die a little bit too early, or definitely too early, on an anticipated Hidden Power Ice, and he goes for Heat Wave, and I risked that when I really shouldn't have, and that means I couldn't get my rocks up for the rest of the match, which were super critical to getting little bits of chip damage, basically one of my only little forms of offense, right? To potentially toxic things like the Darmanitan or the Zapdos, which I did eventually get, but once I knew that he didn't have Dark Pulse, I could have potentially, on a Fire Blast miss or something like that, or after baiting a Draco, Toxic the Hydreigon, I could have used it to Psychic or Earthquake the Toxapex and weaken that thing, because that was one of my only means of doing so as well. So, overall, I ended up unnecessarily acting aggressively in a few situations where I definitely didn't need to. And that was, both of those were basically me losing my only forms of offense I had, whether it was Garchomp and its various attacks, or Bronzong and its hazards, and Psychic and Earthquake. So, yeah, I also didn't use Scizor as aggressively as I should have against Mega Metagross, in particular with Pursuit. So, I just played way too safe, and like I said, that's kind of like the rubber band effect from playing Hyper Offense for so long, and being thrown into a stall game I didn't really anticipate. As you guys know, my main goal, my main team build strategy is kind of bulky offense, where you have 3, maybe 4, pivots / walls, some combination in there, and then you have 1 or 2 Mons that can just break through the opposing team. And I had that, but I needed both of them, and I threw one of them away way too early. And now I do want to, that's enough about the game really. It does come down to kind of some PP stalling. I can heal up, he can't really break through me. I make some good plays to avoid, some of my tanks going down at certain points, which is really cool. There is one point where I make a really good read on Hydreigon and go into Scizor, and he misses a Draco Meteor that I really wanted to hit, because then I could have a free switch into Suicune. And that was kind of a big game changer too, because that could have been potential damage on Hydreigon. But in the end, it probably wasn't making any difference. I mean, ever since I lost my Garchomp, I'm in the negative. I'm in the behind position, because I simply don't have the damage output to beat his team. So I need to outplay it constantly, I need to keep him low, I need to get up hazards, I need to keep my only forms of offense alive, and I didn't do those things effectively, and that's ultimately why I lost here. I don't feel like particularly like I was outplayed. Manu played well. Like, I'm not going to say that he, was bad, or that he outskilled me super hard. He made a couple good plays at the right times that had so much bigger consequences for me than I anticipated or foresaw, and that's kind of a hindsight on my end. So hopefully I can take this forward and learn from it. I definitely, thinking back about it, and having even identified these things, having watched through the battle, I can say these things with somewhat of confidence. The replay actually crashes at 156 turns, which is why you're seeing sped up gameplay from my end. Otherwise, I would just go over the replay, but it actually does crash at 156 turns, and there's still only one death, which is that Garchomp, which is absolutely crazy. But now I do want to talk about stall a bit, because this game was really demoralizing. I actually was playing really intensely, I had to think quite a bit, and I made a lot of great plays throughout this 268 turn match. And it was pretty taxing, but what made it even more taxing is that throughout the whole thing, people were just complaining in the chat. People were like, oh my god, this sucks, oh, this seems familiar, oh my goodness, are you actually gonna upload this? Oh my god, this is so boring, oh my god, nothing has changed. And I suddenly became a villain. I mean, I've always been called the anime villain in the league, and that's because I showed up out of nowhere and I just started winning, and it was really difficult for people to beat me, and I came off as unbeatable and everything, and that's kind of fun to an extent. I don't mind being that sort of an anime villain, but people calling me lame, calling stall lame, calling my style lame, that sort of thing. I wouldn't even say stall is my style, but at this point, stall is my only way to win. So of course I'm going to go for it. I'm not just going to give up because the road ahead looks like it's not going to be that fun. If I got to do what I got to do to get the victory, and that pretty much means playing as on point as I can with my defense and hoping he slips up in his, so that my little bits of offense can capitalize on that and get as much damage out of it as they can. And overall, it was really rough hearing so many people borderline just hating on me in the chat and say screw you, Nick, and that sort of thing. And I was it's not like I want to be playing this right now, right? It's not like I want to sit here for 2 hours and try to come up with some sort of stall-y way to beat him. I don't mind stalling a little bit. I don't mind pressure stalling PP on one of Suikun's counters. But my whole game plan became getting rid of like essentially all of his PP. And it was not that fun. And there was a bit of a discussion in the league afterwards about like, oh, preventing this from happening again because it's a bit of a problem. And ultimately, we came to the conclusion that, like, it does suck, right? To, like, have to sit through this sort of a thing, to have to play this, to have this long of a battle and everything. But at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a playstyle, it's part of Pokemon, it's something you have to accept, it's something you have to beat. Max made a great point. He was like, if you didn't want to play this game, Manu could have just brought Taunt. And that would have pretty much shut down my team ASAP. So, there are ways to get on stall. If you don't like stall in the game, prep to beat it. That's pretty much as simple as that. I personally am not a huge fan of stall. I mean, I don't really think I play stall. I think I play bulky offense, or even balanced, or even bulky balance at worst. And I wasn't planning on playing stall like this game became. I planned on balanced. I planned on bulky offense. I planned on having a couple mons to plow through his team with some walls to switch in and set up and whittle away at things over time, so that those plows can, continue to push through his team. That's what I planned on. And that plan got shattered ASAP. That plan got destroyed really quickly, and I adapted and I did what I had to, or what at least I thought I had to win. And looking back on it, I made some mistakes even in that plan that I'm going to carry with me in the future and hopefully learn from, as I think I have given this conversation. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about it. I guess to touch on the demoralizing thing again, I mean, I don't want to be a villain. Like I said in the SFL finals, I know nobody's really rooting for me. I mean, obviously some of you guys are, like in the chat and everything, but every time there's a battle, and it's some sort of big battle involving me, whether it's playoffs, championships, some big hype match against like Max or Sam, everyone's rooting for the other person, and like, I don't really mind that much, but that's when it's cheering for one person and not the other. But when it's actively cheering against one person, it kind of takes a mental toll. And towards the end, it was like, oh my god, like Manu, like such a hard-earned like victory. You like your mental endurance is like crazy, and like no one's even considering what my end of the battle was too. To have a plan, have it shattered, and then have to adapt to a plan you don't like, and then to fight like fiercely through it to stay alive, and to endure all the negativity facing you. It was pretty sucky, to be honest. And what else was I gonna say? There was something else I was gonna say. It was just on my mind. Oh yeah, and the way the end of the match was handled didn't really sit well with me. It was pretty frustrating. Manu had been playing well, and like sometimes he'd been chatting, or he'd been saying stuff in the chat. It was like kind of celebrating himself, or like heck no, and that sort of thing. It's like totally fine, not a big deal. Towards the end though, it was like it's not even fun anymore, and I was like, are you trying to like make me feel bad for playing like my win condition or something like that? Again, not the end of the day, not the end of the world though. But towards the end, when I had, my last couple mons and things did eventually start to go down, I started to make misplays. I start to run out of PP for healing moves. And I get down to like finally Suicune. Rather than try to attack me, rather than try to like finish me off or just attack me because he can, because I'm on my final mon, it's toxic or something like that. He starts just switching around and keeping as much as he can alive so that he can essentially PP stall me, because if I could do it, if I could PP stall him, he could do it to me. So rather than try to like actually kill me, he wasted an extra probably 30 or 40 turns just switching around and messing around so that I was PP stalled as like spite for trying to PP stall him. That didn't really sit well with me. I said GG at the end because at the end of the day, like from a skill level, from a mentality level, it was a good game. He said GG, I think. I don't know. It didn't really reflect very well on you, Manu, if you are watching this. What else was I going to say? Not to mention, after the battle, it did turn out to be a 6-0. I simply couldn't I simply couldn't kill one of his mons. Because any mon that would have died, he just kept out and he kept switching between the 3 mons that had recovery. So it did end up being a 6-0. And one of the things that gets me the most is when people parade or build up something to be more than it was. So this game, 268 turns. Yes, it was a 6-0, but you had a Zapdos at like 5%, you had a Darmanitan at 25%, a Metagross at 3%, and 3 mons that had recovery that you've just been switching out between for probably the past 150 turns. And yes, it was a 6-0. Yes, you beat the previous champion. But then you go in the chat and you're like, oh, I bet you all didn't expect that. And, oh, man, I can't believe I'm on the top of the league. And everyone's like, oh, like, Nixon last, you got, like, 6-0'd, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you can't say that this was a 6-0 and that it reflected complete dominance, right? Like, for me to have close to no offense and to be able to play so well defensively for, like, 250 turns is still pretty impressive in and of itself. And that sort of bugs me when people kind of blow things out of proportions, misrepresent things, especially at my cost, pretty much. So, overall, I know Manu is a good battler. I know he's a good battler. He did make himself a little bit of a villain to me. And maybe he likes that, maybe he doesn't. But I didn't like... This match didn't leave me sitting well. When Manu kind of gave it that sort of an ending, everyone kind of cheered for him. Everyone kind of congratulated him. Nobody kind of reached out to me. Everyone rather was like, oh, we need to stop this. You can't do this again. Why would you think of even doing that? Like, why did you put us through that? Oh my god, you suck. Like, screw you, Nick, and everything. So I played this match, and I reflected on it. I thought about the misplays I made. I learned from them. Overall, I thought I played pretty well, but it just didn't sit well with me. So not a great start to the NCPL, to be honest. I obviously wanted to win. I mean, I always want to win, but more importantly that I want to play my best, and I didn't play my best. I didn't accurately identify my win conditions and play accordingly. And more importantly, I want to have fun, and a lot of times that comes with winning and playing my best. But there are other factors, and a lot of that involves the other people involved. And I don't want to turn off the comments, because part of what makes it so fun sometimes is seeing everyone's reactions to things, their cheering and all that. But this time, it just felt like everyone was against me, and like everyone usually is for the other person, but not really against me. And this time, it seemed like everyone was against me, and it just made it a not very fun experience. So, going forward, I'm not going to say that like I won't build a team similar to this, because this is me. This is how I like to play the game. I like to build teams that have a couple powerhouses and some bulky mons, and I'll try to play better to avoid having to stall. But I'm not going to change just because some people don't like it, and I'm going to keep doing me, and doing whatever I can to win each week, and hopefully things go up from here. Hopefully I do a bit better, hopefully I have a bit more fun, and I hope you guys are looking forward to that. There's still like 10 to 15 minutes left of the battle, so I'm probably going to let that play. If you guys want to watch that, you can see my bronze song just died. That's one of the big plays that big misplays I had, because that bronze song was huge. It got crit by Hidden Power Fire, which kind of sucked. I mean, that's to be expected to an extent when you're playing on the defensive end. But yeah, if you want to keep watching to see the turns play out, we played at an average of like almost 2 turns per minute, so it's not like we were taking forever in between turns. It was just long turns. And there are only about 100 left. I encourage you to check them out. You can see the ending of the game and all that in the chat to just kind of see what I've been talking about over the past, or rather rambling about over the past 10-15 minutes. And if you guys could offer any sort of support, I'd appreciate that. But that's all I got for now. I will do better next week, and I'll just let the rest of the battle play so you guys can watch it if you want. But if not, no worries. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about everything I talked about, whether it's stall and my playstyle, my win cons, the negativity and everything about it. There's a lot I talked about with this filler time, basically. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it too. But until the next week, this is Midnight Zero, and this mission is complete.